All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, lady and gentleman. This is Larsen Live. It is February 17th, and how are we all doing today? Actually, I speak lies because there are, in fact, two ladies in the house today, my beautiful wife and also a female dog. Yes, our friends are out of town, so we are dog sitting. There is a small Yorkshire Terrier, I'm sorry, North Britbong something Terrier in the house. Say hello, honey. Bark, bark. Yeah, she doesn't want to talk. But yes, hello, Pony Throat. Hello, Narahari Kamath. Yes, there's the dog. Yes, with the presence of a bitch, the lady count uh is officially two now. There are two ladies in the house listening to Larsen Live. And yes, I only called her a bitch in the most technical sense. She's a very nice dog. But yes, how are we all doing today? Okay, Ponythroat says, I assume that I'm talking about a elftist YouTuber turning out to be a nonce. I don't know what an elfist is, but yes. Robert Diaz says he's living. It beats the alternative. I mean, in most cases, yes. C-Punk Messiah says he's doing well, getting back at the Dune, listen to the audiobook. Yes, that's always good. Dune is good stuff. Yes, also, we opened up the stream with the theme to the movie Troll 2 by Carlo Maria Conde. Troll 2, being a movie that does not have a single troll in it, it is in fact about goblins, not trolls. Troll 1 was about trolls, but that's a whole different story. Troll 1 also has Julia Louis-Dreyfus getting the girls out, but that's a whole different issue. Yeah, Troll 2 is, of course, a seminal masterpiece of cinema. I'm going to cough you up for a second. Since Troll 2 is in fact about goblins, it seemed pretty relevant to what the stream is going to be about, the title story. But we'll get to that later. And yes, this alleged horror movie has that, like, MIDI Italo disco theme song that I played for you. I mean, it's a good song, it just doesn't at all go with what the movie's about. The movie is, of course, about pissing on hospitality. I won't allow it. Okay, C-Punk Messiah says the trolls were the directors all along. Well, I don't think they were trolling. It's just that, Ruggero Deodato, or whoever the hell directed that movie. Let me look that up. I don't know, some Italian hack director. Oh, it's Claudio Fragasso, sorry. Ruggero Deodato, didn't he do Cannibal Holocaust? Yeah. Well, this is what I'm driven to. I'm looking up Italian B-movie directors at 12 in the afternoon on a Saturday, nice Saturday day. Yes, Ruggero Deodato did Cannibal Holocaust. Claudio Fragasso did Troll 2. He also did a bunch of shitty Hercules movies, but that's neither here nor there. And the thing is, the whole, crew of Troll 2 were from the boot. They were all eye ties, and they didn't speak English very well, so that's why the dialogue is very, very clunky. But I do enjoy Troll 2 nonetheless. Robert Diaz says Troll 2 is one of the best bad movies of all time. Yes, I agree, sir. Ponythroat says a quote that may or may not have been said by Vaush: a female dog is superior to a wife, and that the dog will never dead bedroom you. Yes, well said. Anyway, but speaking of dogs, let's get to the news. Before we get to the Vaush thing, you have to talk about a very sad story that happened in Old Blighty, or what remains of Old Blighty, in which a veterinarian was caught on camera just beating the shite out of a dog. Like, why would you do that? I don't know. The veterinarian in question he didn't exactly look like a English beef eater, just FYI. And Yes, there are several hadiths in the Quran in which dogs are said to be unholy animals. Oh, and then I looked it up, and apparently there was another instance of dog abuse. A Florida man hanged a Navy veteran service dog with electrical cord. Why are we abusing the dogs? Dogs are good people. They never did anything to anybody bad, and yet there's just punching all around. Punching and beating and hanging dogs. This is not good. Yes, yeah, these two Indian gentlemen in Blighty, he's just full force knuckling this poor dog in the face. Thankfully, the man was arrested. He's got a big smile on his face as he hauls off and punches this dog in the face. Yes, I'm very much against animal abuse in general. And, I think old Hammurabi had a point with the whole eye for an eye thing. Maybe this guy should be held down and punched in the face a few times. But yes, he was arrested, thankfully, this very bad man. Let me read this story. Let me see if this shitbag, I can get his name. Okay, I can't, but yeah, fuck this guy. Fuck him hard. Like, punch this guy in the face, roundhouse kick him in the throat, kick him in the balls. Like, I'm not, like, treat this man like a brappy. I do not approve of dog punching. No. Hey. This Lankovich says hello. Narahari Kamath says you can't set a limit to human brutality. No, you cannot. He also says, I feel more sorry for animals than humans. Yeah, I generally do too. I mean, the animals, for the most part, mean well. I mean, even the pit bulls cannot help themselves. They were literally bred to be like drooling, bloodthirsty simpletons. Pit bulls are brappies by breed. Human brappies are brappies by choice. Albert Diaz says, just call that vet shitbag. I bet his name is hard to say. Yeah, I couldn't find the guy's actual name, but yes, being that I am, for the week, in possession of a dog, I certainly do not approve of dogs being hurt. I mean, I feel bad when I used to close the cage on my rat's tail. I can't imagine just full force punching a dog in the face. Ponythroat says it's Florida man. He probably hanged the dog because the internet is down. He had no other site to pleasure himself to. He liked the way its paws kicks. Yeah, my respect for Florida was never really high, but it keeps going down every bit. Just a little bit more each and every day. Anyway, speaking of brappies, what else is going on in the news? Los Angeles has been under fire. Los Angeles, of course, has a big brappy problem. And what's the matter? The government of Los Angeles is under fire because they're blasting classical music in train stations to deter homeless people. So reports news.com.au. So thank you, Australia, for criticizing us. But yes, I would like to remind you all that ugly people cannot stand beautiful music. The shadow can only corrupt. It cannot create beautiful things, as Tolkien put it. Bad people do not like classical music. Like, that's just a rule of thumb. So, yeah, like, strap boomboxes to your shoulder and just run into, like, brappy encampments blasting, like, Richard Wagner or Bernard Herrmann or, like, Gustav Holst. Play, like, the hard classical. Yeah, you got to get some, Richard Wagner, Holst, Dvorak, Basil Polidorus, Alfred Newman, Eric Korngold. Yeah, literally charge into battle, blasting a hard classical, and clear out the brappy problem. I mean, I don't see what the problem is here. Like, it's non-violent. Nobody's being hurt. Like, I guess, listening to masterpieces of music is just painful to, the feral orcs of society. They can't handle it. And yes, the first reply in this Twitter thread is a picture of, Alex and the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange, marching down the street and him just like hauling off and kicking the guy in the dick. Yeah, like those guys were OGs and they liked classical music. Yeah, Texas and California, they're also playing classical music to clear out brappies from 7-Eleven. I mean, I'm all for this. But, our society nowadays revolves around, placating the brappy and doing everything for the brappy. We can't possibly do anything that would harm, precious Brat Brap Jr. I mean, I am 100% in favor of using classical music to, take back the streets. But apparently this is not good. Yeah, God forbid we do anything to like clean up society. I mean, that's not who we are. That's not our democracy. We have to clean, we can't clean up the streets. Our democracy is best expressed by having like feral derelicts whacking off in public and throwing up on pregnant women and children. A C-Punk Messiah says, you'll get roving bands of bloodthirsty teenagers with sophisticated tastes. I would honestly have to respect like a bunch of like teenage gangbangers listening to like the Ring of the Nibelungs. Like, I would have to give you, a pat on the back for that. I mean, am I gonna have to start like, dare I say, I might have to start like carrying like the old ghetto blaster on my shoulder, blasting classical music. Hey, Robert Diaz says the far left now considers being homeless a protected status. Yes, everything for the brappies. We can't, we can never, never do anything to harm our precious brappies. It has been said that the most important thing you will learn in the American public education system is that your life is now basically in the hands of the bottom 20% of society. You will live in fear of the 20%. Your learning will be done at the pace of the 20%. Your money will go to the 20%. American society revolves entirely around placating the 20%. And dare I say, yeah, that is very much a lesson to learn. And leaving Los Angeles and going to Chicago, speaking of things that are done to, stop brappies and people being upset by them, breaking news. Mayor Brandon Johnson ends the use of ShotSpotter in Chicago. ShotSpotter is a high-tech system that alerts and directs cops when gunshots are fired in Chicago. Critics say that it disproportionately affects minorities. Yeah, that happens a lot. Somebody has an idea of ways we can like lower the firearms, assault and homicide rate. It turns out to disproportionately affect minorities. They stop using it. And then everybody just sits around with their thumbs up their ass wondering why, why is the homicide rate so high? Because every time you try to stop it, it hurts the brappies. This has happened on at least 3 occasions I can think of. Spot shotter in Chicago. They had stop and frisk in New York City, which, did by multiple metrics lower the crime rate in New York City until, oh noes, like the precious brappies. So then they stopped doing that. And then the crime rate went back up. Then also in Detroit in the 60s and 70s, they had the STRESS program, which is an acronym for Stop the Robberies, Enjoy Safe Streets, in which, cops would basically do sting operations. They would dress up as like, sort of defenseless homeless people or like defenseless women out at night. And then basically they would bait, muggers into mugging them. And then the cops would just shoot them. Guess why they stopped doing that? Because it disproportionately affected minorities. And then, oh no. Can't have that. So then Detroit went to hell, and Chicago's going to hell, and New York City's going to hell, and nobody can ever address why the homicide rate is high in America. And nothing gets solved. And, the only solution anybody can come up with is just, ban all the guns and just be draconian in general, even though people who legally own guns tend to not be the people doing the shooting. Boy, this country's great. Anyway, let's check out some comments. Okay. Pointy Throat says, Larsen engaging in his own beat-em-up game. Instead of the Mad Gear gang, it's the mentally handicapped gang. Oh, believe me, this might affect I do have like vague, distant, long-term plans to like maybe run for public office someday, and this might jeopardize my my goals in that regard. But for the love of God, just give me the green light to go Mike Hagar on brappies, and by God, I will do it. I would like to specify that I don't have anything against the mentally handicapped. I mean, I have worked with, in my teaching, both my music teaching and my school teaching, I've worked with like autistic kids, Down syndrome kids, and they're really nice. They're good kids, and I liked working with them. But then there's mentally handicapped, and then there's brappies. I like the autistic. I like the Down syndrome. I despise brappies, and I call for total brappy death now. And believe me, brappies will make themselves known to you pretty damn quick. I call them brappies for a reason. They literally make, brappit noises at like 1 a.m. for no goddamn reason. And by the way, speaking of the phrase brap, my wife showed me that there is in fact a song titled Brap, and it took everything in my power to resist putting my fist through the wall. Robert Diaz says, Brandon Johnson fails to realize that stopping crime is not racist. You would think that would not be the case, considering that, like, a study was recently done by the Brady campaign to reduce gun violence that's, the Dusky Brethren do commit a majority of firearm homicides. But guess what? The majority of victims are also black people. So you would think that, you would want to address this issue, considering that both the victims and the perpetrators are of one particular demographic. But no, we can't talk about that. So again, nothing ever gets done. Okay. Narahari Kamath says, I have a theory that the chaos is intentionally created so that attention can be diverted from rising cost of living. Yeah, that thought has crossed my mind also. As Sam Francis would have called it, a narco-tyranny, that they deliberately allow crime to kind of run amok and allow, brappies to rule the streets, and they allow, homeless derelicts to kind of rule the streets just to keep people scared and to keep them, from maybe standing up to the government or demanding change. Biff Slankovich says, NYC fails the remote learning snow day test. Yeah, remote learning is kind of hot garbage because, not to toot my own horn, but like I am willing to learn things on my own. Brap Jr. is not willing to learn on his own. Some people need the structure to kind of force them into, doing shit. Rick says, banning alcohol worked great in preventing drunk abuse of husbands. Yeah, prohibition was wonderful. Robert Diaz says, legal gun owners account for less than 5% of crime. Over 70% of gun crime is done by convicted felons with illegal guns. I did not know the exact figures, but I knew it was something like that. So yeah, those of you people who don't live in America and they're wondering, why does America never do anything to solve the gun problem? That's why. Because every time somebody comes up with a decent idea that starts to make headway, a bunch of shitlibs complain about it being racist. So then they stop doing it, and then nothing happens. The crime rate goes back to, levels out again. And we all just sit around hoping that, something will happen, and it won't. Pony Throat says it's called remote learning because you become very acquainted with the television remotes. Do kids even watch TV nowadays? They're just doing their little TikToks. And I still don't understand the appeal of TikTok, but that's neither here nor there. All right, let me, I closed out my bullet points. Let me just open that up again. Let's see what we got. Yeah, here's something which is delightfully pleasant. I say sarcastically. Okay, a report. 189 dead bodies were found rotting in Colorado. They were not murder victims. They were, legitimate cadavers who died of natural causes. But a couple who offered eco-friendly funeral services spent all the money on cars, trips, and cryptocurrencies. The bodies were left in an unrefrigerated room infested by bugs. The families would receive remains that were just bags of concrete, not actual ashes. Authorities searched the property. The floor was filled with the liquids of human decomposition. The couple, John and Carrie Halford, both facing more than 200 charges and will be arraigned in March. So you see, I'm not just picking on brappies and I'm not picking on minorities. I presume these are two white people. I presume they're of, at the very least, average IQ, but they can do shitty things too. Yeah, this, my God, how do you live in a house like that? The amazing thing, here is that you could legitimately do eco-friendly funerals just by, I'm just spitballing here. You could just get, big cardboard refrigerator boxes, bury them in the dirt, and then, kind of let them return to the soil, do that cheap, and, you could make the money that way. There's literally no reason to do this other than just sheer, petty douchebaggery. Yeah, one tweet says, you could rent a backhoe. You don't have to do that. I could dig you a grave. Just pay me $500. I'll dig a goddamn grave. And yeah, just put the cardboard box with the body in there. Just put some flower seeds on top and just call it a day. Eco-friendly funeral. Okay. Ponythroat says, technically, that was pretty eco-friendly to deal with the corpses. I don't know if it was eco-friendly. Their house is infested with, flies and other filth. Biff Slankovich, referring to Rachel Dolezal, says she was fired from a school district in Arizona. Yes, that whole situation is a goddamn farce, but I was well aware of the fact that Rachel Dolezal went to be a public school teacher and then got caught again. Okay. Ponythroat says digging a hole and dropping a stiff in it is not exactly a huge source of environmental damage anyway, unless you're burying him at sea with a collection of car batteries. You could do that. You could also do what the Zoroastrians do and just kind of expose them to the open sky to give back to nature, which I guess is kind of what they were doing. The old Mazda is sky burial, but at least with the Mazdas, they would build the little towers of silence and then leave them there. They wouldn't just have them in their house. I've really considered, when I die, just throw me to the wolves. Give me back to nature. But then again, in the future, I would certainly hope that my sons would be robust enough to dig me a grave. If my sons can't dig a 6 foot by 3 foot by 6 foot, 6 by 6 by 3 hole in the ground, I will have failed as a father. Yeah, the Larsen family and raising no wusses. I mean, I guess I can understand why those funeral people were constantly taking trips. They were trying to get away from their smelly house. Now, let's see what else we got going on here. Let me open up something. We got like a wagey posting L thing, kind of. There was a bit of a controversy that occurred on Twitter about the application for getting a job at Olive Garden as a dishwasher or a busboy. It now requires a personality test from an AI company where you respond to 60 questions featuring a blue space alien called Ash. I'm going to read further into this. Yeah, Paradox.ai, an AI test used by some of the biggest employers in the country, requires applicants to respond to dozens of confusing slides featuring a blue space alien named Ash. Now, are you sure they're aliens? They might be elves or something. I mean, they look like people, basically. They just have blue skin and hair. Let's see. A long and bizarre personality quiz featuring blue humanoid aliens, which tells employers how potential hires rank in terms of agreeableness and emotional stability. If you've applied to a job at McDonald's, FedEx, or Olive Garden, you may have encountered this quiz. A Twitter thread. Man, I just want a dishwasher job, but I have to answer questions about space aliens. I mean, I question why a dishwasher would need to have agreeableness. It's literally just about washing dishes. I mean, I've worked in restaurants. I mean, predominantly I was a delivery boy, but I did do a little dishwashing and general grunt labor sometimes as well. I don't recall having to do this. And bear in mind, I was only washing dishes like, 5 or 6 years ago. So it wasn't that long ago. I guess society just totally went insane right after I stopped being a wagey. Actually, I do remember, like right out of college, I applied for a job at Walgreens. And yeah, they asked me all these like weird scenarios about like, stopping like shoplifting and crap like that. So yeah, it was kind of like that. Oh, the petty humiliations will never stop with the wages. You have to take your stupid, Eiffel 65 blue skin personality test. And then once you get into the job, you got to do the wagey shuffle. Make it make sense. Please, for the love of God, make it make sense. Yeah, one tweet says it best, showing a clip from the Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger Daft Punk video. If the blue aliens don't look like this, I don't give a fuck. Well said. Robert Diaz says, asking kids to use a shovel nowadays would trigger the kids. I mean, to be fair, I do get a bit triggered when I'm given just a regular shovel and I'm told to, break the ground. Like, dumbass, the shovel is not intended to break the ground. You have to give me a pick. And as luck would have it, I do have like a Chinese army entrenching tool, which does, fold, so you can make it into a pick. And that thing works like gangbusters. But yeah, if somebody gives you just a regular old shovel and tells you to break like the fresh earth, they are stupid. Ponythroat says, when I was a foal, I loved the shovel and wish I could have known it more often. To quote Mystery Science Theater 3000, Prince Ivanshka, have you ever sat on a shovel? Well, not the flat end of it. Ponythroat says it's not even AI, it's just a series of dumb questions. People stick AI onto things like people in 1998 stuck pro on the end of everything. Well, in 1998, it wasn't just sticking pro onto things. It was also like multimedia or 64. Robert Diaz says, Disney is getting sued for forced DEI requirements. A federal complaint was filed. The claim is white people, straight people, and certain religions are being discriminated against in the hiring process. Yeah, that's probably true. Oh, yeah, speaking of the happiest place on earth, me and the lady went shopping yesterday, and we looked briefly at the book aisle, and they had a book that was like 100 years of Disney comics. I briefly considered purchasing it, but it was $70. I mean, I like Carl Barks and Don Rosa, but not that much. But yeah, it's a shame what happened to the company. Back then, it's like, yes, you could depict Donald Duck having like a PTSD-fueled flashback and attacking his nephews with a bayonet. Can't show that nowadays. Yes, we can make cartoons in which Goofy is an abusive 1950s dad. But I digress. But yeah, in 1998, there was a bunch of multimedia buzzwords. And so there are now. And speaking of the 1990s, survey says that American teen and young adult suicide rates are the highest on record. So, let's see. It kind of peaked in 1994 for a while. Then it actually dropped down pretty good into like the late 90s. And then it kind of picked up again around 2003. And then, yeah, now it's 14.5 per 100,000. So, yes, kids, the late 90s and the 2000s were better than now. I'm not just being nostalgic. They truly were better. So, I can only assume that the solution to, being a teen who is on the verge of suicide is to, be given a Nintendo 64 and like a bunch of Monday Night Raw tapes from 1999. That'll make you feel better about yourself. Okay, look, little Timmy, here's what you got to do to feel better about yourself. Play Turok Dinosaur Hunter and watch the Attitude Era of professional wrestling. And I'm not gonna lie, like I got bullied pretty bad when I was a kid. I was a young kid, and no matter how much school sucked, I could come home and play the video and watch wrestling. So yeah, I'm gonna that is the solution. And then the Twitter thread is just full of like pictures of like Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, uh, ravers with like glow sticks and pacifiers, Nickelodeon, and so on and so forth. So yeah, the 90s were better. Pass it on. I mean, Ponythroat says, good news. I finally got the cables needed for me to install a floppy disk drive in my PC. Bravo, sir. Yeah, you gotta play Wolfenstein 3D. See, Punk Messiah says because of Disney, we got Andrew Dobson. I did not know that. But correct if I'm wrong, but isn't uh Andrew Dobson like that blue bear in the fedora? Which gotta look this up. If I am thinking of the right guy, there's a famous comic that he drew on the interwebs. It was like, oh yes, he was the blue bear. So yeah, there's like a famous comic strip where he was at some kind of comic convention and he drew like, okay, so what happened was he was at a comic convention and there was a woman cosplaying as Power Girl and nothing happened. But then he drew some comic strip about some guy sexually harassing the cosplayer, and then his little like blue bear persona took a baseball bat to the guy, and yeah, that was like really bad. But then it's like in the actual picture of the cosplayer, you see, fat boy Andrew Dobson in the back, like ogling her creepily. And fun fact, the cosplayer's boyfriend was the guy taking the picture. But yeah, anyway, like I've seen so many edits where it's like he jumps over the table with the bat, and it's just like a guy kicking the shit out of him for like 10 panels. If I could just find that, uh, God damn it! Why I saw this the other day? Why can't I find it? But yeah, Andrew Dobson is a twat. I'm sorry for there's like long like panels of me not talking, but I'm sorry, I got to find the stupid Dobson comic book. I couldn't find the big one, but I did find one that has the Dobson comic combined with the infamous Control Alt Delete Lost comic, which is still funny after 20 goddamn years. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, let me put this on. Fun fact, my dad and my wife listen to this and they're just like, what in the blue hell is Larsen talking about? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that today, believe me. So, yeah, here's so the top two panels are Dobson's stupid like wish fulfillment. And then the third panel is what Dobson would actually have happen to him if he did try to like, save Milady. Hey, anyway, speaking of the 90s, I got way sidetracked. Ponythroat says, play Turok 2. It's a much better game. I mean, they're both good, the first two Toroks. Ponythroat says, yeah, here's some Sobe. Take this once a day, listen to Papa Roach. Here's a copy of Halo and some hair gel. Yes, that is how you prevent suicide. Just load them up with 90s. It's like, yeah, okay, all right, suicidal guy. Here's a copy of Ocarina of Time. Here's some Junko jeans and a wallet chain and like a silkscreen Goku T-shirt. See me in a week. You'll be fine. C Punk Messiah says we also got some good metal in the 90s. Yes, we did. Hey, Shinseki Evans says at least Dobson fucked off the internet. Yeah, I know very little about Dobson, but yeah, this edited comic book makes me laugh my ass off. I just wish I could find the one which had even more edits of like Dobson getting the shit kicked out of him. It was like, I'm sorry, this is very unprofessional. I'm laughing on stream, but it's like, it's wait a second, and then it's like a guy punching the bear in the face, a guy strangling the bear, he's kicking the bear in the balls, and then it ends with the him in the hospital with the bat shoved up his ass. Ponythroat says, I need the floppy disk to extract some Windows 3.1 mouse software that does not see to exist online. Also got to get a floppy disk camera because those are pretty wizard. You know what? At my parents' house, like I was actually there a couple weeks ago. I looked at my dad's desk, and for some reason, he has a copy of the old real-time strategy game Metal Marines on floppy disk. I'm like, I never did beat that game. There was always one level in particular. I remember it was like a battle in the snow, and it's basically you're like kind of hemmed in by the two enemy generals, and I could never beat that level. I could never stop Zorgoof the Great from taking over the Earth. Robert Diaz says, if people taught the value of being a good person to their kids, the world would be a better place. Yes. There's a lot of bad people in the world. C-Punk Messiah and Ponythroat clarify that Dobson is a lesbian and inflation fetishist. Yeah, I mean, taking a picture of a woman, with her boobies hanging out, that's bad. But like weird lesbian inflation porn, that's good. If you're gonna criticize uh this whole affair for anything, you should criticize Power Girl for being a shitty character. But that's a whole different issue. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I know she's not the most important part of the Superman mythos, but seriously, name a single aspect of Power Girl's character other than giant boobies. You can't. Like seriously, I dare you. Name anything about her character other than like giant hooters hanging out. There is nothing. Nothing. See, Punk Messiah says, play Bathory's Nordland album. That'll cure depression. Yes, the 90s is the cure to depression. Alpha Rigi asks, do you know why Dobson disappeared? His brother was going for a government job, but Dobson was so embarrassing, his parents made him leave. I see. That's kind of like the Spoony one. For those of you not aware, the Spoony one's brother, Miles, is a Arizona State Trooper, and Spoony is an unemployed layabout with depression, and Noah is a big disappointment to Miles. Oh yeah, and then Spoony's brother like shot some Mexican guy, but to be fair, like the guy was coming at him with a knife, so it was like a justifiable shooting by the police. But yeah, you should go. Spoonie does do like live streams occasionally. You should go into his stream and just spam Juan, but not forgotten. He loves when you do that. Alpha Regis says, "I know an explanation for why Power Girl's giant hooters are hanging out." Yes, Robert Diaz then clarifies that. I did know this. The joke with Power Girl early on was that they would make her breasts slightly bigger, every couple of issues until they got caught. Tells you how serious a character she was. Yeah, like, I mean, you would think that, like, you know, I would be okay with, this giant boobied superheroine, but no, like, I'm a mature man. I need more than just giant boobs. I need a real character, and there is nothing to her character beyond tits. I have standards, goddammit. Anyway, we'll talk more about superheroes in a little while. But what else do we have going on? Let's see. I have something, I forgot what it was, but it's labeled in my bullet points Missouri. Missouri's, that's always good. Oh, yeah, and it lived up to it. Missouri mom, 26, is charged with baking her newborn baby daughter to death in an oven after mistaking kitchen appliance for infant's crib. Uh, yeah, I don't know how you do this. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. So let me pull this blithering idiocy up. Okay. Okay, I'm having a little trouble. Damn it. And of course, it's from the Daily Mail because why wouldn't it be? I mean, this is in Missouri, but yeah, I don't care how bad the postpartum depression is. You should not be mistaking a crib for an oven. Oh boy, I need to put the baby to sleep. Better preheat the crib to 450 degrees. Okay, we got some comments here. Alpha says, I meant plural in explanations, as in universe justifications. Uh, I okay. Well, I guess I don't know that, Alpha Marigi. Please tell me why in universe, Kara L or whatever. Wait, no, Kara L Supergirl. What the hell's Power Girl's Kryptonian name? I gotta look this up. Uh, okay, it is Kara. Wait, then what's Supergirl's Kryptonian name? Wait, so Supergirl's Kara Zor-El, but then Power Girl's also Kara Zor-El from an alternate dimension. Whatever. But yes, please inform me why in universe she has giant yabos. Like, I know, going from DC to Marvel in Spider-Man, and we'll come back to this. Black Cat claims that her boobies act as ballast for gymnastics. Is that why? Is that Power Girl's excuse? I don't know. Ponythroat says the air fryer trend has gone too far. Seabung Messiah says 2 words. What are people? I don't know what he's referring to there, but Ponythroat, I will not have you besmirching air fryers. I own an air fryer. Shinseki Evans says ghetto trash probably high on drugs. Yeah. It's this is very bad. I mean, I don't know what kind of cribs they have in Missouri, but the cribs I've seen don't have like dials and knobs and electrical coils. I mean, it's been a while since I visited my niece. She still sleeps in a crib. Last I checked, her crib doesn't have like heating elements to it. Robert Diaz says Missouri also passed a law banning any form of an eviction moratorium. Ponythroat says she mistook a mix of milk and breadcrumbs for baby powder and a KFC deep fry for a bath. Could happen to anybody. Yeah, I suppose it could. Yeah, I think Grandpa Simpson put it best. I'll be deep in the cold, cold ground before I ever recognize Missouri. Or to put another way, there's a reason why Missouri is pronounced misery. Okay, Alpha Marigi says, one explanation for why Power Girl dresses like she does is because she uses the cleavage as a distraction, much like the bat symbol, except much more jiggly. Another explanation is the boob window was a placeholder and she is insecure about not coming up with her own symbol. Oh, yes, I do dimly recall a panel in which Kara begs somebody to fill her hole, but, not in a sexual way. I don't think that the writer was so oblivious that he didn't get what he was saying there. But, yeah, Power Girl, not a good character. Okay. C-Punk Messiah says water people were mentioned in the Sleepy Cast podcast. There are hillbillies who drink amoeba-infected water that affects their intelligence. I did not know that. Ponythroat says, what did Della wear? Della wore her brand new jersey. Idaho, no, Idaho. And other state-related puns. Okay, let's see what else we got. I guess we could go to the title story, such as it is. Ponythroat knew what I was talking about from the beginning, and we're going to talk about it right now. Give me a second. Yes, Vaush, the streamer, was he was caught on stream. He had a tab of lolicon on his computer. Apparently, Vaush did not realize it was lolicon. He thought it was goblin porn. Now, lolicon is, of course, drawn child pornography, which is technically legal because it is, drawing. No one's actually being hurt. Me and my wife both agree that somebody who is into that should be kept an eye on. But arguably, goblin porn is even worse. Like, if you're whacking off the goblins, dare I say, you've gone a bit too far. The Twitter thread is then full of big titty goblins, but I question whether these are goblins. These are just elves with green skin. There's nothing goblin-y about them. I see a lot of pictures of sexy goblins, but again, they're just green elves. It's not the same thing. And yes, I'm aware that in the Elder Scrolls, at least, the orcs literally are just a breed of elf. This Goblins with Huge Asses, a novel about goblins with gigantic dumpers by Emily Sackenball. The cops try to stop him, but he'll never stop painting those gigantic green asses. I mean, I'm not looking at my wife. I can hear her, like, just losing all respect for me again. I wonder how the dog's doing, by the way. The dog is doing fine. Now it's like there's two females in my home, like, losing all respect for me. Yes. Now I'm tempted to Photoshop that scene from The Simpsons where Apu is holding the gigantic asses porno magazine, but he's like, but it's like green, gigantic goblin asses. Yeah, I don't think this is actually a novel. This is just like a joke that was made. Yeah, so when Chris finished art school, his professor warned him no industry would view the giant glistening goblin asses that he loves to paint as art. He should be better off painting trees or clowns. Chris knew that he lived in America, the land where dreams are to be chased down in seas, so he ignored the advice and painted obscene goblins with gigantic oiled-up asses to great success. His dream came true. He opened up his first gallery of goblins with huge asses, but I'm sorry. Sorry. The cops didn't like it. It's not porn, officer. It's hentai. It's art. The cops raided the gallery, but when they drew their guns and pointed them at the paintings of goblins with huge asses, they were struck dumb. They weren't ready for goblins with menacingly large asses holding basketballs at their side, as if to say it's bigger than the basketball. Okay, I'm just... The cops were so intensely turned on, they forgot how to masturbate, and their horny energy became trapped inside of them, driving them insane. Cops were speeding around the city and smashing into other cop cars and exploding and dying. Cops are beating themselves to death with their nightsticks because horny for goblin ass is incurable by modern medicine. Some cops tried to jerk off their whole bodies and they hang themselves. The book is mostly cops dying in vivid detail. The characters at the beginning of the book quickly disappear and it becomes cops fantasizing about goblins with huge asses, then dying over and over again until the book seems to run out of pages. Wallace Redder, Transnational Book Reader. Published by Paradise Books in Hell. It's, briefly, it is shown that we see what was inside Vaush's folder. There were no goblins. It was just lollies and horses. Another comment. Me when Midna is giving me mean head, but her 30-pound helmet slides off and crushes my balls. Yes. I'm sorry. Oh, and thankfully... Okay. Damn it, Larsen, get it together. Somebody did Photoshop the picture of Apu with the oh my god, I'm losing my mind here. Think sad thoughts, Larsen. You got to control yourself. And for the record, Midna is an imp, not a goblin. Although I guess it's really potato. And fun fact, in the Twilight Princess manga, Link and Midna, when Midna takes her true form, they do make out. So yeah, one wonders why Link wasn't attracted to her when she was in her goblin form. I mean, she was literally a goblin with a gigantic ass, so you know, it's fitting. Nintendo was ahead of the ball, I guess. Okay, Ponythroat says he thought it was porn starring Jewish people. Okay, this is okay, J.K. Rowling. Ponythroat says whacking off the goblins is one step down from whacking off the gnolls. No, I think it's up because goblins are at least sentient beings. Robert Diaz says Emily Sackenball. What the fuck? C-Punk Messiah says, ah yes, there are lots of goblins in the Rule 34 community. Daphne clarifies that Honey the dog is peacefully sleeping. C-Punk Messiah says this is comedy gold. Robert Diaz says it reads like the English dubstep from Ghost Stories. Alpha Marigi says Vaush defended actual CP to jack off on how intellectual he is on multiple occasions. That's in addition to saying that the Tibetans deserve to be conquered by communist China, but that's a whole different issue. The Lolly shit brings him down despite him attacking Lolly in the past. Square the circle. Ponyfoot says Vaush's homework folder certainly has some flair to it. Okay. Alpha Marigi says Link is weak. Cry the Coomers. Yeah, I'm really starting to think that Nintendo will take my suggestion to make Link like this hyper-aggressive chud just to shut up like the whole gay thing. I mean, it won't shut up the Coomers for one iota of a second. Alpha Seapunk Messiah says Larsen's being broken by the goblin asses. And boy, howdy, Midna is a popular one in the Rule 34 community. I mean, I hope at the very least it's Midna in her human form and she's like this tall, long-legged, sex pot. Oh, who am I kidding? We know it's not. Okay, yes, I took a correspondence course in radio broadcasting and I failed miserably because I should not be laughing on radio, but, whatever. Ponythroat says, get it, flair to it. No, I don't get it, actually, sir. Please explain it to me. Okay, so, yeah, what else do we have here? Okay, it was a very close toss-up between the Troll 2. It was a three-way tie. It was like the Troll 2 theme, Misty Mountains Cold from The Hobbit, or the Goblin Town song, also from The Hobbits. I mean, I don't recall there being any female gobos in the Hobbit movie, but and then the this thread is just full of goblin porn, and again, like all these hot goblins are just female elves. Like, I don't see how these are goblins per se. Like, again, I guess we are taking this sort of Tolkien. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to interpret Tolkien in certain ways, orcs and goblins are just corrupted elves. So, I guess they don't necessarily have to be ugly. I should take this off my stream now. Okay, Ponythroat says flare, horse anatomy reference. When horse ejaculates, the tip of its own organ flares out to keep the ropes of Vaush's favorite protein shake inside. Good to know, sir. Very good to know. Oh boy. Oh god, I guarantee you after this stream is done, my dad is gonna call me and book me sessions with a psychiatrist. Yeah, so let's move on, but not really. Speaking of men who are terribly, terribly deluded sexually, yet another moron has an issue with the concept of the female orgasm. Uh, Yeaz, a PhD in truth from Harvard University, I have my doubts about that. The female orgasm should be avoided at all costs. It is the source of all evil. It is a sin. Females have been tricked into believing it is a right by the feminist movement. Orgasm is the right of men. Sex is reserved for reproductive purposes. Orgasm serves biological function for the male, but it does not for the female. Well, actually, it does sort of, slurp up all the jizz and get it more into the uterus. So it does actually serve a purpose. And by the way, in medieval England, they literally did believe that the female orgasm was necessary for conception. So I don't know how, we know less about the female anatomy than literal medieval peasants, but I see this every now and then. I've talked about this multiple times. Every now and then, you'll see some cretin claiming that, women don't orgasm or they can't orgasm. And I just, please, my fellow men, can we stop thinking this? At least this guy believes that it does exist. He just thinks that it's widely unnecessary. At the very least, I would say that if nothing else, the pair bonding aspect of it for, enforcing monogamy does, in fact, show that it has a purpose. But yeah, once again, I'd like to reiterate that if you can't make your woman orgasm, your woman is capable of orgasming, just not around you, sir. Seapunk Messiah says there were indeed present female orcs and goblins, just not obvious. There was a lot of orc boning going on beneath Orthanc. I don't know. I guess it depends on interpretation. Like, Peter Jackson clearly shows them being created. So, who knows? And yeah, if female goblins were just like green elves, I can understand the appeal, but I don't know. If you take like the sort of, Blizzard, or Warhammer idea, I don't know about that. It's like, oh boy, those tusks really turn me on. Okay. Robert Diaz says Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Stone is a plot-filled anime that explores the goblin world. Yeah, that's something to check out. Seapunk Messiah agrees with me that it's a clear sign that they can't make him climax and they're salty about it. Yes. I will never stop laughing at men who claim that. They are stupid, stupid men. I don't know why you would tell on yourself like that, but, oof. Yeah, so speaking of streamers, the other day, some guy named Sneako, who I've never heard of, had the brilliant idea to challenge ex-UFC champion Sean Strickland. He got the absolute shite kicked out of him. Why would you do this? Like, I train with, Bush League pro fighters, and 7 out of 10 times I would reckon I get my ass whipped. Why would you challenge, like, a former world champion? Who even is Sneako? I don't know who this person is. Can we get Vaush to, like, challenge a UFC champion? Like, I mean, what is Dricus du Plessis doing as of late? Yeah, I mean, Vaush could, like, get, a beat down from somebody. Okay, Seabunk Messiah says, you're not far off about the tusks. There's a subset of Rule 34 artists who make them look a bit more monstrous. Yeah, and here I was referencing Seinfeld obliquely. Like, there's an episode where Kramer thinks he sees, the half pig, half man in the hospital. And, George is like, I wish there were pigmen walking around. If there's pigmen walking around, I would look better in comparison. And then Jerry's like, I don't know, there's always some demented pervert who would be into them. Like, oh boy, like those tusks and that little curly tail really turned me on. So that's what I was thinking of. But no, apparently some people really are turned on by the tusks. I don't know, the tusks don't really do it for me. Like the most tusking I can take is like, I was seeing in this goblin ass thread. There were some goblins that were drawn with like, how in like animes like they have like the mischievous child, they have like little fangs. Like that's the amount of tusk I can deal with, to be honest. But yes, I am very happily married, and there'll be no goblin sex in my house. Oh boy, this is yeah. I'm looking at the yeah. There's little anime tusks. Looking at the comments here, Ponythroat says Sneako is like some kind of shittier Andrew Tate clone who has even less of a chin. That's great. And yeah, Sneako got just demolished. Like, say what you will about Andrew Tate, he did actually fight in the Bush League, so he could at the very least probably have lasted longer than like 5 seconds like Sneako did. That's a whole different issue. Okay, yeah, Alpha Marigi then clarifies, much like Ponythroat, Sneako is an Andrew Tate-esque masculinity scam artist. Oh, apparently he's a cuck, which, yes, I will point and laugh at him for that. But, yeah, like, I'm gonna say this for my listeners. Yeah, don't challenge pro fighters. You're not going to win. Like, I know I said I can occasionally sneak out a win in sparring, but that's like literally 3 out of 10 times. And I am like 30 pounds heavier than these dudes, but most of the time they're still kicking my ass. Okay, moving on. It's yes, guess we're coming to the pop culture side of things. As if that hasn't. I mean, I kind of think we kind of stumbled into that. But yeah, nonetheless. Speaking of superheroes with gigantic hooters, Madam Web was released into theaters, and apparently it sucked. I've literally heard that it is worse than Morbius. I mean, the Nostalgia Critic did say it was slightly better than Morbius, but Morbius was like, that's more leaning into its shittiness. So, in a way, it was better. But yeah, it debuted with 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is not good. The only positive things I've seen anybody say about Madam Web is that, boy, Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney looked good at the premiere. Yeah, that's when you're complimenting the ladies' dresses at the red carpet, and that's like your biggest promotion. You have fucked up. Hey, Alpha Marigi says people need to listen to "I Can Beat Mike Tyson" by the Fresh Prince. Yeah, that's a pretty good song, actually. Yes, the song in which Will Smith describes getting punched in the stomach so hard that he shat himself in the ring. No, I'm not joking. That's literally what the lyrics say. I mean, he's a bit more polite about it, but yeah. Okay. Ponythroat says Mike Tyson played Punch Out 20 years later. He cannot beat Mike Tyson. He couldn't even beat Glass Joe. Yes, I did see that. I know. I figure that Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was the champ of the world like in the 80s. He wasn't playing video. He was snorting a lot of cocaine and having a lot of sex. Robert Diaz, referring to Madam Web, says some dude got arrested whacking off to Sydney Sweeney in a theater. Why would anybody whack off in a public theater? Ponythroat says the real tragedy here is that we won't be able to fool Sony into releasing this one twice. I mean, it's the name Madam Web, I guess, is not as memeable as Morbius. You can't do like Webillion dollars or Madillion. It doesn't work like Morbillion. Alpha Marigi then says, "Did you see all these events happen to Madam Web except one meme?" No, I did not, sir. He also says that it's weird that nobody taught Mike Tyson how to play his own game when he was 19. Again, when you're the 19-year-old heavyweight champion of the world, I really don't think you're going to be playing video. Can you really imagine, like, heavyweight champ Mike Tyson playing the NES? I mean, it might be kind of amusing to try to hear him pronounce the title, The Magic of Scheherazade. I mean, I would risk getting my ass demolished to make him do that. But yeah, like I said, he had much more important things to be doing than playing video in his prime. But yeah, I'm really convinced that like Sony is just they're basically making ash can copies. They're just desperate to hold on to the Spider-Man license. They're just putting out any horse shit they can. So yeah, I will not be seeing Madam Web. I mean, I have heard that it might be like it is like a really entertainingly bad movie. At least that's what the nostalgia critics said. So I might watch it at some point. Like, I mean, hell, I still haven't seen the 2019 Cats movie, which I've heard is like transcendently bad. I'll really have to get around to that at some point. Oh yeah, fun fact. Before I met my wife, I did briefly date this girl who worked at like Apple or Amazon Studios. She literally just like got coffee and did kind of behind the stage shit. And she did say like she met some celebrities and some were nice. And yeah, she said Jared Leto, huge dick. He was in fact morbing all over the place. So in case you need a confirmation that he morbs, he morbs. Alpha Marigi says, I have a pretty good imagination. I can rotate the apple. Yes, I can also visualize apples in my head. I also have an internal model. It hits streaming. Yeah, I'll do that after I watch, the Cats movie and I rewatch Mortal Kombat Annihilation and just watch a bunch of other shitty movies. Okay, moving on from Madam Web. While I open that up, I don't know. I guess you could get more entertainment watching Sydney eating like those hot chips and like losing her shit from the spice. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh yes, another news. I think it's from a couple years ago. Jackie Chan writes that he abused his son. He smacked him around a little bit in his new book. And that's a shame. I mean, imagine being, J.C. Chan and coming home and your dad's just waiting with a goddamn stepladder and a bucket ready to, like, give you a hellacious beatdown. It's like, gee, am I going to smack my son around today? Is it going to be the bucket, the broomstick, the paint can, stepladder, panes of glass? Yeah, as much as I do love his movies, yeah, Jackie Chan's a pretty garbage human being in real life. But that's, maybe he just gets liquored up and does drunken master shit. I like to imagine that personally. Okay. Ponythroat says, my mother used to work with celebrities. I once went on some kind of motorcycle party with a Lemmy and woke up in a hedgerow. Well, I mean, that's literally what you should expect to happen if you party with Lemmy Kilmister. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't both Lemmy and Ozzy Osbourne have like it's like some kind of mutation that like literally drugs are less effective on them than the common man. Oh yeah, and then Lemmy literally ate like nothing but like salami and cheese and like whiskey and like he was apparently pretty healthy. Pony throat referring to the Jackie Chan thing. My son gonna be on his test as I'm pulling out the 3-section staff today. Yeah, I don't recall if he ever actually used one of those in his movies, but like I said, I assume Jackie occasionally just got liquored up and then grabbed like those Wing Chun rings and just uh started like sun and moon punching his son in the chest. Chain punching, that's what I was thinking of. I mean, dare I say, like, getting a beat down with like all the implements of your dad's tool shed might be worse than like if, hypothetically, if Bruce Lee came home, he'd just like 1-inch punch you. I mean, granted, he didn't live long enough to, smack Brandon around. But as far as I'm aware, Bruce Lee never did anything like that. I mean, he'd cheated on his wife a lot, but that's a whole different issue. But yes, I am very much amusing myself just imagining Jackie Chan taking a step ladder to his son for like, being caught whacking off or whatever. And finally, Starship Troopers is trending on Twitter. Apparently, there's a whole thing about like, uh, people are arguing about whether or not, Starship Troopers is done earnestly or whether it's satire. Spoilers, it is done satirically. Paul Verhoeven has made that very clear. He felt that the book was fascist, and he literally took the piss out of it in the movie. Yes, of course, there's dialogue about how like some people they don't get it. We need to have media literacy. And yes, truth be told, I do think people need media literacy, but you know, I do have to say that the people who whine about, like the conservatives don't have media literacy, those people also don't have media literacy. No, they don't. Yes, there are a lot of people who take like The Punisher at face value or Starship Troopers at face value. But then again, the complaining about media literacy is coming from the people who insist that like The Lord of the Rings is a passionate gay romance. These are the people who insist that Link is a queer, non-binary icon. So, with all due respect, you yourself need some help with media literacy. Yeah, go fuck yourself. I mean, I look, like, can I just say, like, I get what Verhoeven was doing in Starship Troopers, but I still enjoy the hell out of it. Like, I'm sorry, Clint Eastwood Drop is a goddamn masterpiece of symphonic music. I listen to it as I work out. And, but yeah, like the joke is pretty obvious. Like when you, I mean, yeah, when you're a child, you kind of take it at face value. Then when you grow up and you see like, wow, these humans are literally fighting this war in the worst goddamn possible way. Like, I'm pretty goddamn sure the United States military now could have beaten the bugs with like the, with the technology we have now. And it's like, okay, here's these guys just running headfirst into, the bug planet with literally nothing but rifles. Like, there's no air support, there's no armor. Like, the rifles don't even have sights on them. Like, this could not possibly be, like, I'm literally just a guy who, I've never served in the military, but, like, I'm like, even I could have won this battle. Anyway, Ponythroat says, that sounds more like he's being abused by Tim the Toolman Allen. Well, I'm referring to the meme where it's like the deadliest force in the world is Jackie Chan at a hardware store. But no, Tim Allen does not abuse his children. He just sniffs cocaine on occasion. Actually, no, he doesn't even do that anymore. He got busted for it. He served his time, and then he's clean now. T-Bunk Messiah says Donnie Yen and Jet Li remain the paragons that they are. Yeah, I've never heard any complaints from them. Jet Li does seem like a very loving husband and father. And contrary to what the woke Asians say, Jet Li requested that he not kiss Aaliyah in Romeo Must Die because he felt like, I don't want my young daughter seeing me kissing a woman who's not mommy on screen. It had nothing to do with Asian sex bullshit. Ponythroat says Starship Troopers was clearly satire. The sequels were not, and that's why nobody will remember them. Yeah, those sequels were ass. I've heard that the animated show was actually pretty decent. I never actually watched it, like the Roughneck show. I'm genuinely surprised that like Casper Van Dien never became really successful. I mean, does that man not have the greatest movie star name of all time? But I digress. Rick says Paul Verhoeven called Cthulhu Chultu. Well, he's Dutch. He probably had some difficulty pronouncing it. Rick says I unironically like the Polydorus Daughters song in that movie. Oh, I didn't know she composed the song. Rick says, wasn't the outpost Fort Joseph Smith? Yes, it was. It was a Mormon extremist got massacred by the bugs. People are claiming in the Twitter thread that like the humans did a false flag operation on themselves. They destroyed Buenos Aires to, blame the bugs. I never got that from the movie. I mean, what I assumed it was basically like the Spanish-American War, in that it was an accident that they just jumped to a conclusion and attacked the bugs. I mean, I didn't get that it was a false flag at all. But yeah, the outpost was called Fort Joseph Smith. I guess that's why the humans' strategy was just to run headfirst into the bugs and just try to shoot them with rifles. I guess it also might explain why humans thought that they could like win through sheer attrition. Word of advice, guys, you're never going to outbreed the bugs. But yeah, I mean, media literacy is a bit of an issue. Like, guys, the whole, I guess, the very dark joke at the end. When you see Doogie Howser literally wearing a Gestapo overcoat, and like they're torturing the brain bug, and everyone's like, "Yeah, he's afraid." Like, that's not. It's pretty obvious what the intent was. Okay, let's see. And gee, wow, this movie takes place in Buenos Aires. There sure are a lot of blonde and blue-eyed people here. Gee, I wonder what Verhoeven was getting with that. Hint, hint. Okay, Rick says the book section on Neo Dogs freaked me out. That was the same week I learned about Nina Tucker. Yes. If I recall correctly, the Neo Dogs, it was like they were genetically modified and they could kind of talk. So I'm kind of imagining that, like, for some reason, I'm just imagining that they talk like Scooby Doo, sort of like dog accents. Anyway, yeah. Also recall that the Canine Corps was basically wiped out during the Clendathu invasion. Rest in peace, Canine Corps. Ponythroat says regular literacy is also an issue. Yes. And then he says Doogie Himmler. Yes. I mean, I am also aware that like some of the actors got what they were doing in the movie. Like I know for a fact, Neil Patrick Harris, he literally referred to himself as yeah. I'm like I went full fascist in that movie. Yeah, so he got the joke, and I think I know Michael Ironside did. I'm not sure if the main love triangle there got the joke. I mean, personally speaking, I wouldn't trust Denise Richards to drive a car, let alone pilot a goddamn spaceship. That's a whole different story. Pony Throat then says Rico is also not a small Filipino man in the movie. Yes. I mean, to be fair, the book, it's kind of like a surprise at the end when you find out that his native language is Tagalog. If I recall correctly, I think Paul Verhoeven only read like one chapter and then he just kind of threw the book across the room. Yeah, so that does it for my prepared remarks. You can say your last pieces now as I drink this very cold coffee. And that's not a hint at anything. I'm just saying that my coffee has gotten a bit cold. Oh, yes, Pony Throat also says, my wife is complaining about my cheating. It's giving me a headache. I need an aspirin. Quote, Bruce Lee. Yeah, actually, Matthew Polly, in his book, his biography of Bruce Lee, he makes a pretty convincing case that Bruce Lee died of heat stroke. You know, not helping matters was that Bruce Lee had a surgery to remove his sweat glands in his armpits because, you know, it looks weird on camera. Not a wise decision, Bruce. Yes, I respect Bruce Lee a lot, but yeah, a faithful husband he was not. That's a black mark on his legacy. Biss Lankovich says favorite SB commercial is Arnold Christopher Walken and I think he meant Doogie. Uh, he also says it would be a beatdown. Yes. Yeah, there's yeah, the Starship Troopers movie is has some strange casting a little bit. Like yes, this Mexican guy is Private Shijumi. Yes, this Mexican man looks very Japanese. Okay. Alpha Rodriguez says the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game for was Duel Monsters was a parody of Magic the Gathering called Magic and Wizards. Something to keep in mind with the success of Pal World. Yeah, sometimes the ripoff is successful. We shall see. And you know that like you know the Pal World gives the opportunity to have sex with the pals, so that's a point in its favor. Hey. Ponythroat says Bruce Lee's family is so tough they got killed by over-the-counter medicine and a fake gun. Okay, again, sir, I kind of take the Matthew Polly idea that it was heat stroke, and yeah, the Brandon Lee death that was just a goddamn disaster of you know idiot stagehands. The armorer was not on set that day, so some stagehands were just like, oh, let's just fire the blank. Like there won't be any gunpowder left in the gun, but there was. Ponythroat says the original Starship Troopers book has strong themes of racial and religious diversity. I guess Verhoeven missed that part of it. Yeah, like I said, he read very little of it. Seapunk Messiah says, I have a music recommendation, Legendary. Yeah, I'll have to look into them. Hey, Alpha Marigi says salt and pepper get to do almost everything together, but ketchup and mustard only get two things. I mean, you can put ketchup and mustard on stuff. I mean, I'm not a huge ketchup fan. I only like ketchup really on potatoes, like fries and also onion rings. Ponyfoot says Brandon Lee's true nemesis was Alec Baldwin. Well said. Seapunk Messiah says also we could have had Bruce Lee versus Sonny Chiba had Lee not died. Yeah, there were a lot of projects that were left kind of in the on the back burner when Bruce Lee died. Like, fun fact: shortly before he died, Bruce Lee was in talks with Hanna-Barbera to do some kind of cartoon project. Not the hint at what it might have been, but at that time there was a lot of like Scooby Doo crossovers. We could have gotten that. We could have gotten Scooby Doo, Bruce Lee. Now, granted, I don't think Bruce Lee would have been doing his own voice. It would have been like Dawes Butler or somebody, but still, I think it would have been pretty cool. Ponythroat says MSG is the one true condiment. Well said. All right, you guys can say your last pieces. Okay, let's see. Alpha Marigi says James Sia did a pretty good Jackie Chan Adventures. I mean, yeah, but bear in mind this would have been like in the 1970s. Hanna-Barbera. How many Asian voice actors did Hanna-Barbera have on staff? How many Asians were in the animation industry in general in the 1970s? Like, okay, I know, K. Luke, he did some voice acting for Hanna-Barbera. Then you had, you know, George Fukuhara, who did, Hashimoto-san for Terry Toons. And I think that's about it. Yeah, it either would have been Key Luke or like, Dawes Butler or like Mel Blanc. Oh, am I kidding? It would have been like, it was probably going to be Dawes Butler or like Henry Corden. Hey, Seapunk Messiah says, speaking of which, 70s Japanese and 80s action movies are underrated, like Shogun Ninja. Hey, Shogun Ninja is a real gem, nothing quite like jazz fusion. Two ninjas slaughtering each other. I'll have to check that out. Ponythroat says, I imagine that Bruce Lee animated in the 70s would have been voices, but something that would have sounded very racist just a few years later. Yeah, like I said, I highly doubt that Bruce Lee would have done his own voice. Like I still think it would have been cool. Even though it would have been like it would have been Dawes Butler doing his voice most likely. Yeah, you can say your last pieces. I mean, Mel Blanc certainly had a lot of experience voicing Asians, if you know what I mean. It's like, okay, Mel, we're going to have you turn down the racism slightly here. But yes, I think doesn't look like anybody else has anything to say. So for Larson Halleck, this has been Larson Halleck. All of you have a good day.